I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask the city clerk to call the roll.
Mayor Sorrell?
Here.
Assistant Mayor Hanson?
Here.
Councilor Grasso?
Here.
Councilor Farini?
Here.
Councilor Marchand?
Here.
Councilor Panalakis?
Here.
Councilor Hines?
Here.
Councilor Reynolds?
Here.
Councilor Whitehouse?
Here.
I'm going to ask everyone to rise for a moment of silent prayer, and then our mayor on Student Government Day, Morgan Hensky, will lead us, followed by In the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by God Bless America.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God bless America.
We will go right into the introduction of our students participating in Student Government Day, March 24th, 2004. It gives me great pleasure this evening to introduce and congratulate the students that have been picked to serve for the different city offices for Student Government Day. I want to wish them good luck. And a big thank you to Mary Carey Foley, student counselor, advisor, who makes their dreams come true for one day. Thank you, Mary. I'm going to introduce Morgan Henschke, and I'm going to have her read because she's done it in script. It's beautiful, but I can't read it. So she's going to come up and tell us a little bit about herself.
Hi, I'm Morgan. I'm on the girls' varsity basketball team, and we just ended our season against Exeter in the playoffs, but it was a really good season. I'm also the captain of the varsity tennis team, and I'm currently a intern at the City Hall Legal Department. I've been in peer leadership for 4 years, and I've just been accepted to Clemson, College of Charleston, UNH, and Seton Hall, and I'm waiting to hear from James Madison, American, and George Washington. I want to major in political science and minor in French, and I have 2 older sisters and 2 younger brothers, and during April vacation I'm going to the Dominican, which I'm very excited about.
Thank you, Morgan. I'm going to train her well so she follows what I do. All right, now we'll go right down the line, starting with Assistant Mayor, and just follow the course of direction on the minutes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's my pleasure to introduce Ben Jankowski, and he is from Newcastle. He's 17 years old, is a junior at Portsmouth High School. And during the summer months, he instructs sailing at a local sailing school in Newcastle, and this summer will be his 4th year. He has a part-time job as a page in the periodicals section of the Portsmouth Library. He's active at the UNH Marine Docent Program, testing ocean water for environmental changes. And when he goes to college, he's going to be looking at the marine sciences. And I'd like to introduce Ben Jankowski. Ben.
Your Honor, at this time I'd like to introduce Tana Hoffman from Newcastle. She's in the Interact 2, the Division of Rotary International, and it's been its president for 4 years. She's been in the National Honor Society as president for 2 years. She is a mentor for student teaching of students for 4 years. She's been on the Mayor's Blue Ribbon Youth Committee, the high school representative for 2 years, and the Greater Portsmouth Education Partnership Council, GPEPC, as a high school representative for 1 year. She's also been the recipient of G-Pepsi's Quality Partner Excellence in Education Award for efforts towards the Crossroads Shelter. And it's her hope to be accepted by Dartmouth University, where she'd like to major in international business. Tana?
Your Honor, I would like to introduce, and I am happy to introduce, Jackie Blaylock. She's a junior at Portsmouth High School. She has resided in Portsmouth for her entire life, and this is her second year taking part in the Student Government Day. She's actively involved with the peer leadership and student council at the school. She was the vice president of her freshman and sophomore classes. She participated in varsity volleyball and varsity track. She has made the honor roll every quarter of her high school career. She's also an employee at the Old Ferry Landing restaurant, and she plans on attending college after graduation. I'm happy to introduce Jackie Blaylock.
Your Honor, I'm very fortunate because I have a student with me today who is so hardworking, so diligent, that he's still in class until 8 o'clock. And so he's not here yet. I've just been informed. And if it would be all right with you, Mayor, perhaps we could delay his introduction because we'd love to have him here, I suppose, when he's introduced, and to do that at approximately 8 o'clock, if that would be all right.
Sure.
Right.
Bring it back around.
Thank you.
Laura?
It's my pleasure to introduce Alicia Lozier. She's a 9th grader at Portsmouth High School. She lives in Rye, New Hampshire. She loves to travel. She's been to Alaska, Norway, the Dominion Republic, and a few other places. Plays field hockey, loves sailing with her dad. She loves the surfing and playing the guitar, and she enjoys life. Hopes to go to a good college, but she's got 3 years to think of what college she would like to go to. I'd like to introduce you to Alicia Lozier.
It's my pleasure to introduce Hughes Pope, one of the younger members of an old Portsmouth family, graduating this year, going on to Colorado to further his college education. He's a lacrosse player, which probably we haven't seen a great deal of here, but it's a very interesting sport. Hughes is going to graduate, as I said, and has a pretty extensive life so far in travel, having been in Mexico for a while and back here. So I think his education can only grow from what he has already learned. So with that, I would like to introduce Hughes Pope.
Good evening, everyone. I'm pleased to introduce young Jimmy Nukas. All of you know his father, of course, who's a strong thread in the fabric, civic fabric of Portsmouth. But as we know, the apple falls not far from the tree, and young Jimmy is a student and student athlete of some repute. He's a member of the National Honor Society, plays baseball and basketball, has been a participant in peer leadership, and also a student representative to the Greater Portsmouth Education Partnership Council. He aspires to four-year college and contemplates law school after that. So I'm proud to introduce Jimmy Nukas.
Your Honor, members of the City Council, members of the public, I have the honor of introducing Eddie Burke. Eddie Burke lives in Rye. He's a freshman at Portsmouth High. He plays football, basketball. His real interest is in golf during the summer. His favorite subjects at the high school is geography and English. And he's hoping also someday to have his own music company once he graduates. But he'll be the part of the first class to graduate all 4 years at the new high school, and he's quite proud and honored to be in that brand new school. So I'd like to introduce once more Eddie Burke.
John, goes back to you.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. It's indeed a pleasure for me to introduce Ben Brown. Ben is a 17-year-old senior at Portsmouth High School. He was born in Portsmouth and lives in Portsmouth. He presently is taking 2 courses at Portsmouth High and another class, accounting 2 at New Hampshire Community Technical College. In addition, he's working a full 40-hour schedule at Subs and Soda in Greenland. His school activities include varsity football, captain, varsity winter track, captain, a varsity spring track. Next year, he's hoping to attend the University of New Hampshire and develop his interest in business. Further, he hopes to own his own business someday or work for a large corporation and travel the country. When he has some free time, he enjoys spending it outdoors, either hunting or fishing. Right now, he's in the process of fixing up a boat, which he recently purchased. I'd like to introduce you to Ben Brown.
Now we're down to the city attorney.
Your Honor, my introduction of student city attorney this year is a special pleasure for me because for the first time ever in this event, I have known this student's mother and father. Makes me feel a bit old because I've known them since before she was born. Our student tonight is Whitney Dupree, who lives in Portsmouth, a junior at Portsmouth High School. She has like a wonderful family. Listen to this. I have a younger brother, Charlie, 10, a younger sister, Molly, 14, and I live with my mother, Louise, and father, Chris. We have 2 golden retrievers, Madison and Ginger, 2 cats, CJ and Miller, a hamster, Mia, 2 fish, Splish and Splash, and a horse named Paris. Now, if that isn't the ideal life, what is? She also plays sports, volleyball and lacrosse, has non-sports high school activities, a Junior World Council and National Honor Society, and finds time, after all that, to volunteer at Operation Blessing. Your Honor, Whitney Dupree.
Now we're down to the city clerk.
I would like to introduce Ariel Susi. She is a senior at Portsmouth High School. She is also the student council president. She was also the junior class president. She has attained the Girl Scout Gold Award. She is most likely planning to attend Simmons College in Boston to study physical therapy. She enjoys lacrosse and skiing, and she plays field hockey and tennis at the high school. Ariel Susi.
I want to thank you all, and I wish you all good luck. I know you'll all be good counselors. Now we're down to the Mayor's Award. Morgan, why don't you come up here? Come to work with us. I'll put you to work. How's that? I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to take some oil. We're going to rename them off and start the award. First of all, this is Mayor's Award presented to Portsmouth High School students in appreciation for their participation in providing their input to the city's master plan. And we've done it up round tonight. We have shirts that have our city seal on it. So we're getting special now. Morgan is going to start going here for me, and then I'll pass out.
Garrett Rose.
Report.
Don't be bashful. Come on right up. Thank you, Garrett. Good job.
Julie Wilson. Sam Nielsen. Richard Heisek.
Andrew Jakes did a good job. There you go.
Harrison Bohinko.
wonder who you belong to. There we go.
Sam Parker.
Hey, Sam. There we go.
Diana Claiborne. Will Majar. Mary LaChapelle. Ross Hammond. And Megan Higgins.
Oh, great. Can I ask the teacher or whoever was
Dr.
the...
Lister.
Dr. Lister, I'm sorry, didn't see you. Can we give you these and pass them out to the
Yes,
kiddos?
ma'am. I'd be glad to take those for you. Thank you.
Very good, and the T-shirts too. And I'm sorry, Bob, I didn't get you on as far as your proclamation, but it's going to be on tonight.
That's fine. Thank you very much.
Okay, great.
Madam Mayor, could we make a brief presentation to you and the City Council, please?
Love to have it.
Thank you very much. Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, Mr. Bahenko, Mr. Sullivan, thank you very much for letting us be before you this evening. Behind me sits a group of students from the high school and Portsmouth Middle School, representing Team City Group 2020. These students took on the task recently of being involved in the city master plan, and they would like to make a brief presentation. I'd like you to know that they all volunteered to be involved in this. We're very proud of the work that they've done to be involved in such a task, and we would like to have them say a few words. I'd also like to say congratulations to the city councilors, Student Government Day 2004. We're very proud that you're also up there as well, and this is a great night to be making a presentation to you because you are representing the future as well as the students sitting behind me. So at this point, I'd like to introduce Daphne Politis, who's the principal of Optimal Solutions of Lexington, Massachusetts.
Thank you, Dr. Lister. Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, Mr. Sullivan and Mr. Bohinkel. I'm very proud to introduce these students that have previously been introduced because I've worked with school children on master planning issues in several communities, and I found that in Portsmouth they were both prouder and willing to work harder, and it was very moving to me. So I feel very proud of them, and I'm sure you will as soon as you hear what they have to say. There were 10 students, some more involved than others, that really cared enough to explore and define what would make Portsmouth a better place for them and their children. They tried to take it that far into the future and calling themselves Teen Group 2020. They were also the first group of school children that I've worked with who wanted this to be more than an event. They want to become an advisory board for you, as they'll tell you, so that you'll come and talk to them some more about their involvement. The city, just to give it some context, hired Tainter and Associates to do the master plan for looking forward for the next 20 years, and I'm a subconsultant to Tainter and Associates. The actual plan will be completed by early fall. It is now being reviewed by the planning board. That's broken down into subgroups and taking one section at a time. So this is a very good opportunity for these students to provide input at this point, almost 2/3, 3/4 of the way along. So since they've already been introduced, it was my job to do so. We'll just move on to the next stage.
This is the process of how the presentation was created. In our first meeting, we brainstormed things like what we liked about Portsmouth, what we didn't like, and what we wanted to change about it. And we also had a series of other meetings. Some of the members conducted surveys. Some created their own individual projects. Some members did interviews, and one of our members, Mary, did an essay. Harrison and I put most of the projects together into a PowerPoint presentation, which is this presentation right here. And now this is the presentation to the City Council.
These are our main points that we will cover in the presentation tonight. What we like, what we don't like, what we have to do, problems with what there is to do, and ideas for improving what we have to do.
Most of what teenagers liked was they liked the downtown areas because of shopping and it was a cool place to hang out. The location near the ocean and other towns because it's easier to get to the beach. Prescott Park because of some performances in the summer and it's a big wide open space to like hang out and stuff.
These are some things that we don't like. Teenagers said they didn't like tourists. We conducted surveys and interviewed people and just talked among each other. So we generally didn't mind tourists in small amounts, but we thought there were too many, so we didn't like that. And we liked the trolley system, but we didn't like that it didn't come to neighborhoods or it didn't come enough, or we need some more modes of public transportation. And we also didn't like, well, we obviously like shopping, but a lot of the stores downtown were more geared to older people. So there was this store Blades that just closed out, and a lot of teens like to shop there, skateboard apparel and things like that. And we were a little disappointed with the recreation system. We all thought it was a great way to start when we were younger, but now it's more for younger kids, and we think we could have some improvement on that. And we didn't like construction in already very densely populated areas, and not enough parking downtown, which is a hard problem to fix, but I know my mom, she won't take me downtown as much because she has to go around to find a space for far too long.
Well, some things we do have is the downtown area, and most kids like the idea of having a good location, and there's lots of things down there for kids to do. The movies, the cinemas, the shopping, the food, the festivals we occasionally have. They like Prescott Park and how it's clean and a nice place to hang out. The skate park, Connie Bean Center, and the beaches, the location, and we do have some transportation, but some kids say it's not enough. Some problems we have is the trolley system. It's not geared for transportation for younger kids. It's more for the adults. And the other problems we do have include the parking, that someone else just said, and the sports that aren't geared for little kids, for older kids. Like the New Heights Center is geared more for the younger kids, and there aren't enough things for teenagers to do.
These are our ideas for improving what we already have. We need to improve the transportation. We need to advertise the existing activities. We need to focus activities towards teens. And we need to turn the present library into a teen center.
We thought of the present library building as a good place to make some things for teenagers and some ideas we had, since it's going to, maybe instead of demolishing it, we could make it into an arcade or sort of a little hangout for teens to go after school, since it is nearby a lot of schools. More shopping, teen gear things, skateboarding, sports, music, a non-alcoholic soda bar with ice cream, coffee, and some just sitting places, hang out with your friends, and maybe a quiet area to do your schoolwork with all your friends and maybe have a little soda too.
So that was a very brief synopsis of all the work they did. They really spent a lot of time outside the classroom and outside of school. But they also had a very caring and supportive assistant superintendent, Dr. Lister. Just wanted to mention that.
And in conclusion, we'd like to thank Daphne Politis, Principal of Optimal Solutions, Lexington. The students would like to thank their teachers who let them out of class on several occasions. Mayor Evelyn Sorrell, who again gave us another example of how young people can be involved in the decisions made in the city, and that is greatly appreciated. In addition to the student council members the student government members that are here tonight. All members of the group for their effort and time. I personally would like to thank Mr. Stokel, middle school principal, who's here sitting with the students this evening, Mr. Ransdell, who's the principal of the high school, who's at an open house at the high school right now, and Dr. Tracy, who's here in the audience. And all the students for all the work they put together to be able to present this to the City Council and to the Planning Board and have this be part of public record for the next 20 years. And thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you, God. I want to thank all of the students. They did a great job. Now we're down to a proclamation which did get omitted by the mayor. I guess I was goofing off on my job this week. But anyway, it's regarding Portsmouth School Department and the Special Olympics, New Hampshire, which is sponsored by the annual state basketball tournament in Portsmouth. And this is on March 27th and 28th. Mr. Lister, I'm going to have Joanne read it, and then she's going to keep the proclamation because she's going to be coming out and reading it to you. Okay? Does that sound good? All right. Councilor Grasso?
Yes, a proclamation. Whereas the City of Portsmouth and the Portsmouth School Department are proud to host the 2004 annual Special Olympics New Hampshire State Basketball Tournament. And whereas more than 75 teams with over 500 athletes and 100 coaches from across New Hampshire will be enjoying the game of basketball at facilities throughout our city for the third year in a row. And whereas the joy of participating in this tournament will be shared by these athletes, their coaches, families, friends, and numerous volunteers. And whereas the success of this event is also due to the great support of many wonderful organizations and generous businesses in our community and Seacoast area. And whereas through this tournament, our New Hampshire Special Olympians will measure themselves against their sworn oath, let me win, but if I cannot win, let me be brave in the attempt. Now, therefore, I, Evelyn Sorrell, Mayor of the City of Portsmouth, along with the members of the City Council, do hereby extend a warm welcome to the athletes, coaches, officials, volunteers, and friends attending the 2004 Special Olympics New Hampshire State Basketball Tournament, and invite the citizens of Portsmouth to attend this great event to cheer on these very special Olympians and their teams. Welcome to our community and have fun. Given with my hand and seal in the City of Portsmouth on 27th day of March 2004, Evelyn Sorrell, Mayor of Portsmouth.
Thank you, Councilor Grasso. And I will pass this down to you, Morgan. You'll, great. You need a copy, don't you? We're all set? Keep that, because you're going to be doing a proclamation. Okay? Hopefully. I'll pass this down to Joanne. Okay. Please.
Madam Mayor, thank you very much. We appreciate that. And I'd like to ask permission that we be excused to go home and do homework.
Sure.
Is that okay?
Oh, gee, I don't know. I don't see any smiles on the face.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mike.
Boss? Bob, right now. Okay, now we're down to the find it here. We're down to the acceptance of the minutes of the meeting, March 1st, 2004.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? We're down to the public comment session. We have just one speaker. I ask that you come forward and state your name and your address. And also, you know the rules. It's 3 minutes, and when your time is up, our city attorney will hold up the thank you card, and that means sit down. Mark, you're the first and only one on here tonight, and you're going to talk regarding the boat ramp. Stedno, right? Is that how you pronounce it?
That's correct, Mayor.
Okay.
Okay, my name is Mark Stetner. I'm a homeowner, 91 Fairview Avenue, Portsmouth, New Hampshire. For years now, I've been a resident of Portsmouth, and I'm an avid boater, and so are many other residents of Portsmouth. Years and years I've been waiting and waiting for improvements to be made to the Portsmouth boat ramp. Years, money's been collected. I don't know where this money's going, but it's going somewhere, not to the boat ramp. It's a very dangerous ramp. The currents are swift. The water's very cold. It's completely inaccessible for one person to launch a boat, unless you actually put the boat on the ramp while you go get your boat and trailer. I have a question. I don't know if that's allowed. How many people on the city council have a boat?
We don't usually get into questions, sir.
Okay, I guess we'll
only
keep
have
that.
3 minutes.
We'll keep the hypothetical, but
Okay.
that's one question. And I'd really like to see some improvements made with the starting of a simple finger pier, which is something that you tie your boat to when you go up and get your car and your trailer, and your boat stays there, so you don't have to beach it on the rocks. That's a very, very important thing. That would be probably the start of a lot of other improvements. One other issue is the fact that moorings are so tight around here. If you own a boat, your only option is to launch it here in Portsmouth. You can't keep it on a mooring. Slips are incredibly tight and very expensive. So it's the city's obligation to make that ramp as user-friendly as possible. And there may be ways to fund it, like with a yearly sticker that Portsmouth residents could purchase and have that money go directly into improving the boat ramp. That's done in a lot of other towns that I've visited. So I can only stress that we can't wait years and years and years. The master plan 10 years ago said something about this. The master plan that's being developed now says something about this. How long do the residents have to wait for this? And we're not asking for any money out of the city. This can all be self-generated. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. That ends the public comment session, and I'm going to pass this to our assistant mayor. I think he wants to bring forward.
Madam Mayor, I move to suspend the rules to take up item 10A, 1, 2, and 3 under the city manager's action items.
Do I get a second?
Second.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, Mr. First Mayor, but I I'd like to make a special request to every mayor to please allow for us to speak it. Especially request because I had no idea that
What is it in regards to?
In regards to the scrap metal pile that we have across the Market Street.
Okay.
It seems to be a very important thing for that.
That is on the agenda tonight.
Should I wait till that is brought up?
I think that would be good. I think the questions will be answered. The city manager is going to speak on it, and also Councilor Candelakis. That's no problem. Okay,
We had a motion to suspend the rules in the second.
Okay.
10A.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Very good. Discussion?
Which is the city manager.
Sorry, John.
Sorry, thank you, Your Honor. Since the suspension of the rules, there are 3 items under my name. They deal all with 3 collective bargaining agreements. The first is the school custodians, and this is for a 5-year agreement from July 1st, 2003 through June 30th, 2008. And what the City Council needs to do is ratify the agreement that has been presented to you.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Thank you, Ron. The next item is a request for approval of the proposed 5-year agreement between the Portsmouth School Board and the school custodial supervisors. Again, this is a 5-year agreement beginning July 1st, 2003 through June 30th, 2008. And again, asking for ratification and approval by the City Council.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
And the third and final collective bargaining agreement that is requested for action tonight is the 5-year agreement between the Portsmouth School Board and the Portsmouth School District paraprofessionals. Again, this is a 5-year agreement from July 1st, 2003 through June 30th, 2008. And again, looking for ratification and approval of the City Council.
So moved, Your Honor.
Second.
Very good. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? I guess that's it. Everything went through. All right. Now we are there.
Now the superintendent can go do his homework.
Okay, now we're down to the acceptance of grants and donations. New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services, 2004 Watershed Assistance Grant Program in the amount of $50,000 for the Bartlett Street Stormwater Treatment Device Installation. What is your wish?
Madam Mayor, move to authorize the city manager to accept funds up to $50,000, enter into a contract, and execute any documents which may be necessary with the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? We're down to considerations and resolutions of the ordinance. And the first one is a first reading of ordinance amending Chapter 7, Article 2, Section 7, Period 219, rates for taxi fares. Do I have a motion on this, Councilor? Councilor Whitehouse.
Your Honor, I move that the City Council pass first reading of the amended ordinance as submitted and hold a public hearing for second reading at a March 29th City Council meeting.
Do I get a second?
Second.
Very good. Discussion on this? Any discussion by anyone? Very good. We're all ready for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Third and final reading of ordinance amending Chapter 10, Article 1, Section 10-102, parentheses A, definition, and Article 9, Section 10-903, parentheses B, illumination and motion of signs. Councilor, who wants to make a motion on this? Ned?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd recommend that the City Council move to pass the third and final reading of the amended ordinance as submitted.
Second.
Very good. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? We're down to presentations and considerations of written communications and petitions. We will basket all of these because they've been following us along each year. Renewal requests for sidewalk obstruction licenses for the following business with no changes from last year. Whoever would like to make the motion, name them off. Councilor Grasso.
Your Honor, I move that we accept these requests for renewal for the sidewalk obstruction license. Water Monkey, 2 A-frame signs. Lucky 7 Gallery, 1 A-frame sign. Serendipity, 2 A-frame signs. Chamber of Commerce, 1 A-frame sign. Bell Peppers, 2 tables and 4 chairs. Cafe Kiln, 1 bench. Ambrosia Gardens Incorporated, 1 A-frame sign. Subway, 2 tables, 4 chairs, and 1 A-frame sign. Metro Restaurant, 1 A-frame sign. Prudential Rush Realty, 1 A-frame sign. Press Room, 1 A-frame sign. Cafe Mediterranean, 1 A-frame sign, and Au Naturals, 1 A-frame sign.
Second.
Very good. Any discussion? All ready for the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? A letter from Kathleen Churchill, Strawberry Bank, requesting permission to hold the Blessing of the Fleet on July 4th, 2004. What's your wish, Councilors?
Your Honor.
Councilor
Move
Pandalakis.
Move to city manager with power.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? A letter from Mark Steigner regarding the need for improvements to the Pierce Island boat launching ramp.
Move to accept, place on file with a copy to the Pierce Island Committee.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? A letter from Jennifer Slade Arteezy. Did I pronounce that right? Oh, I'm getting there. Requesting permission to close the small 16-car parking lot on the corner of Market and Hanover Street on May 16th between noon and 6 p.m. to hold the downtown spring tag sale event. Councilor Marini.
I'd be happy to read the letter, but I would like to ask in the first instance, what day is that? Sunday. Sunday.
They do that every year.
Right. I would move that we accept this and consign it to the city manager with power.
Second.
Discussion, Councilor Whitehouse?
Yes, I think the city manager should also notify Mrs. Slade that there is construction going on there by Gaslight, and there are some meters that have been blocked off, and there will be limited amount of space to be used in that parking lot.
If I might, Your Honor.
Yes.
Counselor, the agreement with the Gaslight will be that they're supposed to be out of there on the 15th, and the Gaslight actually is a landlord to the Trizzy.
Yeah.
So they're familiar and they're working together.
All right, good. Thank you.
Any other discussion? All ready for the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? We're down to the city manager, and John has 3 items that require action.
You already handled those, Your Honor.
Oh, sure did. Sorry.
What I did want to mention to the City Council is that on Wednesday, you will, as tradition, you have gone to meet with your counterparts, and we do a little seminar with them about what to expect for Student Government Day. That's Wednesday, the 17th at 9:30 a.m. Let's see. We're going to be in the new administrative conference room in the new school. So at 9:30 in the morning, we'll meet there, go into the new entrance, and I'm sure somebody will be able to direct us to the appropriate location. One thing I would mention is that if there is the event of snow, if there's no school, obviously there'll be no meeting. If there is a late opening, an hour late opening, there still will be, 2 hours. If there's a 2 hour, at most 2 hour late opening, there will be a meeting as well. So no meeting if there's no school.
And John, I think actually you should bring forward your violation letter regarding the scrap metal.
Sure. Thank you, Your Honor. And if at this time, if you wanted to allow Councilor Pantelakis to discuss this, it'd probably be appropriate because I will be speaking to some of her concerns. I know I've talked to Councilor Pantelakis on the telephone regarding the scrap issue, and I share many of her concerns. I did talk, as a result of some phone calls in the office and the result of some of the issues as relates to the loading of scrap metal, we had complaints to the city manager's office as well as to the port office. I immediately contacted Gino Marconi, the executive director of the port, and he was extremely cooperative. The first thing we did is we did send a letter of violation to Mr. Marconi regarding some of the issues on scrap that had been spilling out into the street, and He was aware of this and has asked that corrective action be taken. In addition, I talked to Mr. Marconi, and he is working with the Grimmel Industries to correct some of the problems that we have out there. Specifically, he had a street sweeper out there cleaning up the area. Also, he has provided car washes, coupons to those that cars were affected. Also, I've been told that he will be working with the building across the street on some power washing. And so after discussing this with him, he has indicated to me, and he took corrective action as quickly as he could. Again, it is unfortunate that this incident happened, and that I am pleased to note that there was corrective action taken by the port as soon as they could. The city zoning officer is tracking this and was out immediately as a result of some of the complaints that came to our office. We will be watching this very closely. We have taken photographs of the areas. I've kept those for our records, and we have provided those photographs to the Pease Development Authority, both Lynn Hinchy and Mr. Marconi. And I will be discussing this at the next PDA meeting. I think we need to look at our procedures over at the port relative to loading of the scrap. And again, Mr. Marconi was extremely cooperative and responsive.
I'd like to ask one of the councilors to suspend the rules and allow City Councilor Pandelakis.
I'll move both.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to ask the city councilors tonight to have the mayor write a letter to the PDA asking them not to renew the contract with the scrap company. I believe it has become a health hazard both for the people on this side of the river and on the other side of the river. If anyone saw the dust or whatever you want to call it on a week ago last Monday, you know it is a health hazard. The fact of the matter is that the company does not create any jobs whatsoever at the port. It brings its scrap in there. It leaves it there for at least sometimes up to 120 or even 180 days. The company is out of Topsom, Maine. They couldn't get into the port of Portland because of the type of scrap they use. And as a city councilor, I'm really upset over this because when they came before the city council to tell us what they were going to bring in, it was all nice, clean metal and something that we wouldn't consider an eyesore. And it seems to me that the PDA would probably be very cooperative about this once they've seen the hazard that it's created in the past week. So,
thank you, Councilor. Does anyone have any questions?
No, I do not, Your Honor, but if that constitutes a motion, I will second that motion.
Very good. Councilor Whitehouse?
Question. Mr. Bohinko, when does their contract run out for lay-down material at the port?
I believe the renewal is coming up in July. I asked the legal counsel of the PDA to give me the exact date. She's researching it, so I'll get that to the city council. I believe the contract expires in July.
Any idea how much money involved for the state?
The total amount per acre?
Going to the state.
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and again, this is off of memory, it's about $55,000 per acre on an annual basis. So I would have to check those numbers, but I can get those for you.
Okay. Just keep in mind, my fellow councilors, this is money. It's an active port. There's work, and there's money going to the state, and this is what the port was looking forward to, and we've had scrap there before. It was very unusual that it was a windy day and they didn't cease loading the ship that was dockside. So I agree with Councilor Panelakis that we can't afford to have this dust become airborne, but it was an unusual day because the wind shifted and it went from offshore to inland, and that's what caused the problem.
Any other discussion? Councilor Grasso?
Yes, if the council would be agreeable, I'd like to hear from the gentleman in the audience who wants to speak to this issue, because I think it's very important that we get information.
Is that all right with all the councilors?
Yes. That's a motion. I second it.
Okay, you seconded it? All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
I don't think we can do it that way, because it's a motion on the floor.
Oh, right, okay.
On the main motion. Could I just correct an issue that Councilor Lighthouse said? He said it creates work. It does not create any work whatsoever for anyone in the city of Portsmouth or the state of New Hampshire. They bring in their own front-end loaders right from Thompson. They do the loading of the vessels, and they do any other work that's done there. So it does not create any jobs whatsoever at the port.
Any other discussion? Councilor Hines?
Thank you, Your Honor. I think that all that Councilor Pantelakis is asking for, and rightfully so, is that this company follow up on their agreements in the contract.
Tom?
Picking up on what Councilor Hines said, and certainly Laura's comments, I'm of course concerned about what environmental impacts it has on the people and property of the city. The concern I have is that perhaps I did not quite appreciate the nature of the letter that she should send. My understanding was, or she suggested we send, that the contract be terminated. Am I correct? And the concern I have is that while I certainly don't want anything like this to continue and be part of our city's environment, we have seen significant public input in a variety of forms indicating the desire to maintain the city and its port activities as a working port. Certainly we don't want something that's damaging. And I guess the question is, I'm a little concerned about reacting willy-nilly to one request for a letter without some additional study or information. And I don't know how quickly that can be gathered for us, and we certainly don't want to impact individuals who are sustaining potential harm or discomfort or other difficulties. But I would like to know a little bit more about what the impacts are and the financial ramifications, and what the state might do or the contracting company to potentially remedy the matter.
Councilor Reno?
If I could clarify something, I heard Councilor Pantelakis request a letter that would urge the PDA not to renew a contract when it expires. Is that correct? So the contract is due to expire. I appreciate what Councilor Farini is saying about none of us, certainly myself included, knowing what the alternatives to this scrap trade at the port might be. However, I do think this seems to be an opportunity without knowing what the other possibilities might be. I can imagine that should a contract be renewed to allow for scrap handling at the port for another, whatever it might be, term, 2 years, 5 years, well, then that would foreclose any options for any other kind of trade. So there's kind of an opportunity cost here if we allow this, or if this contract gets renewed, well then, as we all can see, that scrap metal pile, and it takes up a lot of room there, and the options would be limited to try to develop any other, I'll just say, better kind of trade. So I think we should give Councilor Pantelakis' request some support.
Very good. All ready for the vote? Steve, and then Assistant Mayor.
Actually, I guess, thank you very much, Madam Mayor. One other question I'd have is, when this current contract was arrived upon, I guess I'm not aware as to how much competition there is, say, within the same market, scrap metal, or, as a couple others have said, for an alternative market in the same area. At the very least, and again, not proclaiming to be an expert by any means, you listen to the passion of some of the folks that have spoken here, it seems like there's some level of negligence that at the very least, it seems to me at the end of this contract, we should at least have a very skeptical eye as to whether or not we would renew. And if there's any other competition that's anywhere in the neighborhood, anywhere in the ballpark, this would be the kind of tiebreaker that certainly would make you look at somebody else before you would just jump in and re-up with the same group.
Any other speakers before we take the vote on that? I'm sorry, Assistant Mayor Haying over there.
Well, that's all right, Madam Mayor. I want to, first of all, say that this is a working port. The city of Portsmouth receives $30,000 from it. I am opposed to voting on this at this time because I haven't seen the letter. And we've had a policy that you submit what you want. I'd like to see a draft letter. If that draft letter expressed our concern to the PDA about this particular company, I would certainly support it. However, I think you have to be careful what you ask for because you may get it. As you know, we've opposed SALT there because there's a tax-paying entity right next door that pays the city of Portsmouth a great deal in taxes. If you don't want scrap metal there, you want all salt there. So I think that what they presented to us is not what we got. And so we express our concern. We go back to what they presented to us, the clean metal that they had. If another outfit comes in and wants to do that, or if there's substantial penalties that the PDA can put on this outfit to make them adhere to what they originally promised, then I think that ought to be within their jurisdiction. But just to say, okay, we're not going to renew your contract. Now we've got empty space. The state of New Hampshire is after more money. The International Salt wants to rent the entire acreage for all salt. So I'd like to see any proposed letter in the packet the way that we normally do, and instead of just having a verbal, send a letter. So if you've got it proposed, I have no objections to filing very strenuously with the PDA our concerns, and hopefully some severe penalties if they continue to move forward under the penalty clause. But I don't know what the contract says. I don't have a copy of it, and I'm asked to vote tonight to terminate it, and I don't know, we all don't know what we're talking about here until we see the actual contract. So I think we're jumping the gun, and I'd move that we table this to the next meeting, and then at which time that we would have a proposed letter.
I'll second that tabling motion.
Madam Mayor.
Okay. Councilor Grasson will...
Well, I just still wanted to hear from the gentleman in the audience.
I'll bring him up once we get this done.
But I think Councilor Hansen's suggestion that we table this, it would only be 2 weeks, which is we still have plenty of time. And if we find that it's necessary, I think a letter to put this company on notice would be in order then.
Okay.
Madam Mayor.
Councilor Pandelakis and then Councilor High.
Yes, I'd just like to express to the other councilors there is other means of other companies that would like to come into the port that can't come into the port because it's taken up with the salt and with the scrap metal. And these companies would provide jobs such as maybe transporting our liquor coming in container ships or something. But the fact of the matter is that no matter what, we want a working port, but I don't think we should sit here as councilors and not in 2 weeks vote to do something, because this is a health hazard. Whether that dust goes out on the river, it's going into the river and it's contaminating the river. And if it's going over on North Pond, it's contaminating that. I just hope in 2 weeks that the council will give this some consideration.
Can I ask the city manager a question?
Councilor Hines had his hand up next. Councilor Hines?
Thank you, Your Honor. When I seconded Councilor Pandelakis' motion, the terminology said to not renew this contract, which has caused environmental problems. I feel that whether we write a letter, whether we make a motion, having watched our city manager, John Bohenko, operate on the PDA over quite a period of time now, I'm sure he has the message and I'm sure he can deliver it, and I'm not sure that we do need to have any other communication than that, since he does represent us very well.
Any other discussion? Councilor Farini.
I would just go on to say I think the desire to do something as offered by Councilor Penelakis is certainly commendable. I'm just not in the habit of voting for something unless I have a substantive basis to do so. And in this case, I would like to see the contract and understand what contract it is I am voting against or offering to issue a letter against. And I would appreciate at least a minimum of 2 weeks, but I think we should be able to turn it around promptly.
We do have one more city council meeting this month. So, yes.
I'm waiting to ask the city manager a question. My understanding is the process that wasn't followed here was they were supposed to be using spray, water, and was supposed to be wetting that down before they picked it up. Isn't that correct, to keep the dust down? There was some dust control provisions in the...
That would be typical to what they would do. Obviously, that did not occur. I talked to Mr. Marconi today, and that will occur in the future, that they will be doing that.
Any other discussion? Yes.
A question, Your Honor. In the event we write a letter and send it in 2 weeks upon review, it is merely advisory in nature. We do not have, and perhaps this is a question for the city manager, but it is merely our request as evidenced by the city council. It does not have any weight other than that, does it? It's in fact advisory.
Yes, it is. In fact, just for your information, I have voted against the scrap contract on both occasions, and it's not because of the material that is there, the scrap metal. One of the concerns I had was originally there was a representation of a certain type of scrap that was going to be presented. In fact, I still have it. I have a copy of the tape in which the gentleman from Grinnell came in and showed us the type of scrap, and he indicated there would not be anything larger than a softball there, and it was a clean scrap, and again, I still have those pieces. And so after that happened, I was concerned with their credibility. And certainly, I think it's important to recognize before we totally throw that group out, I think what you need to look at is the issue of what we want to attract. And again, that's an issue for the PDA board to deal with. But I have voted against it twice, but not because it's scrap metal. Because of the representations that were given to me by that company and how those representations changed upon them actually coming in and putting in the type of material that they had. So I'm not against the scrap metal per se, but I think they made certain representations that they did not stay with. So clearly, a letter to the PDA board, we can draft it up, but I would suggest that the letter be in such a way as to not be black or white and say, all or nothing. I think you need to say that you have concern, that you want to have this reviewed, you want to be very careful on this renewal, and if you do renew, then we should do it in such a way that it's not for an extended period of time. I think, as Councilor Reynolds mentioned, I think what you need to do is, if it's going to be extended, it not be extended for any more than 1 year. But clearly, I have concern with the type of scrap that's coming in and how it's being loaded. And the one thing I will have to say, the port staff has been extremely cooperative and very responsive. So I think we can work through this, and it's something that, again, the PDA board will have the ultimate decision, but I think the way the letter should be crafted is to express your concern with various options that you'd like to see happen.
The assistant mayor has assumed the chair and recognizes the mayor.
Being on the Port Authority Advisory Board for almost 7 years, I was very, very upset with this. I remember that bag that was brought in by our city manager, and it was clean metal, and it certainly is not clean metal now. John, I think we should have the contract to see just what it says in that contract.
Your Honor, if I might respond, I certainly will provide that to you. I'll get that from the PDA and provide also, as Councilor Whitehouse requested, he requested how much money has been generated, when does the contract expire, and I'll get that out in a memorandum to the City Council.
Thank you, City Manager. Any further discussion? Are you ready for the vote?
We're
You know what you're voting on?
voting on
All
the
set?
tabling motion, right?
This is a tabling motion
That's right.
for a letter. Do you want to read the motion back? Letter to be submitted in 2 weeks.
Move to table until the next meeting for a proposed letter to be drafted on this matter.
Okay, so that'll be in the packet for the next meeting, the proposed letter. You ready for the vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Now I'm going to ask the gentleman to come up to the podium. I would like your name, address, sir, and what you're going to be speaking about, but you must remember, it is only 3 minutes on our public comment session, and when our city attorney holds up the thank you card, but we would like your name and address for the city clerk.
My name is Thomas Carroll, General Manager of Protective Systems of 500 Market Street in Portsmouth. I happen to be directly across from these scrap metal piles. It's a big concern to me that I hear a lot of people on this council talking about money. When it comes to health, there is no money at all that can ever justify having a business there when it comes to health. There has never, ever been a sprayer at that location since I've been there, and I've been there for over 4 years. My manager for my central monitoring station upstairs has been there 11 and has never seen a sprayer. There hasn't been a sprayer since the incident, and there's been activity since which has created dust. Is it not a problem when the dust blows over the water? It's only a problem when it blows over the land. I think it's a problem no matter where it blows. If it blows, it blows. As a matter of fact, there is an ordinance that states that if dust blows with outside of the confines, that's against the law. And I'd like to have you people take a look at some of that stuff that I've looked up. We have found that everybody in the newspaper has said that it is a problem. All the inspectors all agree it is a problem, but there seems to be nothing we can do about it. The fact is, it is a problem. Everybody's talking about it in town. It got brought up in 2001 where someone wrote a letter and wanted to have it discussed, and somehow it got pushed under the rug again. It's a constant issue here. If a business can come in and be able to operate under their own guidelines, well then we're really not watching anything. Water containment system would be an ideal situation for that scenario. If you're going to spray, you've got to contain the water. It's going to run off. It's my understanding that the Piscataqua is an estuary. An estuary is something that we're supposed to be protecting. The black duck is something that we protect. Well, that estuary is for that black duck. Are we throwing the rust into the water so that we can kill off the eggs, so that we can kill off anything? What about all the restaurants for the lobsters? I had a very disturbing visit to my office today. An employee from Grimmel Industries came into my office with a bag of illegal stuff that's on their property that they're getting. This is materials that come out of the seats of cars and things that are supposed to be separated in Madbury and are not. They're on location. So if the dust is going in the air, this is going in the air as well. I suggest that this be taken and evaluated somewhere.
Why don't you leave it with us?
I will. I'd like to leave all the paperwork with you. I'd like to also offer my support to the council in any way that I can. Whereas I am directly across the street, I'd be glad to do any type of monitoring or anything that the state would like me to do. But I don't think that the money should be an issue, no matter how much money we get from them. If it's a health problem and there's nothing that's going to be done about it, I say we get them out. If something's going to be done about it, so be it. Business is business. If we get another business in to make just as much money, get them out anyways, because it's an eyesore, let alone the fact that it's a health problem. But I don't think that they're going to want to comply when it comes to collecting the water, filtering it, and then putting it back into our estuary. Not our river, our estuary. Let's remember that. Okay? And we're a state that cares about everything. That's why we have some of the best fish and game programs out there and everything else. Okay, so
stop.
Thank you very much.
Okay. I'm quite sure we're on top of the problem here, Tom. The city manager would like to say a few words. You're all done. You can sit right down.
Thank you.
And before you leave tonight, leave that bag with us.
Your Honor, I think it's important for people to recognize that this body does not vote on that contract. I think it's important for those out that are concerned with it. It is the Peace Development Authority. of the Peace Development Authority. Its next meeting, I believe, is April 8th. They can check with my office. But I think it's important for people to write letters to the Peace Development Authority if they're concerned. Certainly the City Council has concerns, and I represent the city on the Peace Development Authority. I'm one representative out of 7. I think it's important to bring your concerns to the Peace Development Authority Board. They clearly will listen. There is an opportunity for residents and others to speak at the Peace Development Authority meeting at the end of the meeting. So you have an opportunity. They do have a website, so you can check on when their next meeting is. If you don't know when their next meeting is, you can call my office. I'll just check my schedule to make sure. You can call the Peace Development Authority directly, and they certainly will let you know when the next meeting is. And it might be important to bring that material to the Peace meeting rather than for us to have it. He can make his presentation to the PDA and let them know directly, because that is the body that will be voting on the contract. All funds that are derived from the contract do go for the operation of the port, and any funds in excess do go to the state of New Hampshire. It is a state-owned facility. So it's something that you need to bring to the PDA board. But certainly we will be drafting up a letter of concern from the City Council that you can be looked at your March 29th meeting.
And a contract.
And yeah, I'll give it to you.
Okay, very good, John. Are there any other questions of your city manager before we go to the mayor? Everybody all set? Very good. Then we're down to the poor mayor here. I'll get things together here. We've got all kinds of appointments, but I do want to mention in front of you, I'm sorry I was late passing it out to you, it's 2 appointees for the Library Board of Trustees. Now, I did this a little bit different. I gave it to our director, Mary Ann List, and also the chairperson of the board, Phyllis Eldridge, to look over these applications. I am going to start scrutinizing every application that comes across my desk henceforth. So that is why you're just getting it tonight for consideration, but you've got all the information in front of you. And the first one is Library Board of Trustees, Amy Berger, right? Berger. Second one is Maria S. Siller. And now these have both been approved by the library trustees. And as I've told you, and the new people especially, if you have any questions about any boards and their application, please come to me before we have the final vote on them, all right? That's all I ask. The next one is consideration for Arthur E. Parrott, Board of Adjustment. Consideration for the Blue Ribbon Cemetery Committee, Donald Cromley. To be voted on tonight, Traffic and Safety, Jonathan L. Bailey.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? To be voted on, Portsmouth Housing Authority, Anita N. Freeman.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? To be voted on tonight, the Board of Adjustment, and I really feel it's time to get some new faces on the Board of Adjustment. And I'm asking you to vote for Duncan J. McCullen.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? And that is it for the mayor, and now we're down to the assistant mayor.
Madam Mayor, I believe that we have one new student council member that has arrived, and that we at this time allow Councilor Marchand to introduce his student counterpart.
Definitely. Steve, anytime like that, speak right up.
Oh, that's great. Well, thank you very much, Alex, for noticing that. And timing is everything, and we're very happy to have Jeff Preventure here. Very good French last name. I appreciate that. A couple things about Jeff. He's a senior at the high school here, and if I'm not mistaken, a good part of the reason why he was here at the end of the meeting rather than beginning is he had an art class that ended at 8 o'clock, and he obviously hustled to get here. He's hoping to study art in college, and I'm sure he'll be great at that if his work ethic is anything like it was tonight. He was involved in Student Government Day last year and enjoyed it enough to give it another shot this year, and looking forward to working with him the next few weeks. A couple other things about him, though. You got to watch out because he's a black belt in karate, so we should all do whatever he wants. And he's been doing this for 6 years. He's also a member of the Environmental Club, and pretty interesting. His travels in that regard took him to Costa Rica. He also works part-time at the Bowl-O-Rama. So you have a gentleman here with a black belt in karate who also bowls. That's very dangerous. I wouldn't mess with that in either count. And he's also on the honor roll, which is probably the most important part of the whole thing. So for those here, I'd like to welcome Jeff Preventure.
Now we are back to the Assistant Mayor, Alec Hampton, regarding his Traffic and Safety Committee.
Madam Mayor, I have 2 items under my name this evening. The first one is to approve the action sheet and minutes of the February 19th, 2004 Traffic and Safety meeting.
So moved.
Any questions? Councilor Pandalaki?
Yes. Assistant Mayor, under E, number 6, could you tell me how a traffic light is detrimental to a neighborhood?
What do you?
Under E, under 6, comes from one of the neighborhoods. They felt it would be detrimental to have a light. It's number 6 on page 4.
Right down. Your other business law?
No, it's down under 6E, page 4.
That is a determination. The traffic light for that intersection is actually controlled by the state of New Hampshire. And that is the ones that consider, we have to petition them. If it meets certain warrants, then the traffic signal can go in. If it does not meet the warrants, it's deemed detrimental and could cause more accidents than the reverse safety issue. So that's what the language comes from, our traffic.
Living on Dennis Street, I think it would be a great thing to have one there.
Well, see, it's a 3-way intersection, really. It's just not lined up for the exit.
Yeah.
And they're redoing, as you know, they're redoing that entire Route 1 corridor. So,
thank you.
I think that the reason that it was detrimental, they also explained, was the stacking of traffic down into the exit lane to allow, in other words, if you had a Dennett and Woodbury, that traffic light, and you had a red light there, and you were coming off, as tractor trailers are allowed to, the stacking is very, very short. As you come up by the Bickfords, the old Howard Johnsons, is very, very short. So that would put traffic actually back into the circle area, and would be detrimental if you happen to be in that traffic.
So
at the end.
Yeah, I might stop the tolls or something.
Okay.
I just they've already ruled on that. Then the state.
It didn't meet the warrants.
Okay. Thank you.
This time.
Yes, Councilor Grant.
Alex, is this the same area? Is this Woodbury ever going to be used if PFNH brings in the wood?
No, they actually withdrew, but the traffic and safety actually has not received that yet. They're working with the various boards, but my understanding is they would come in on Gosling Road, and we would want to make sure that they didn't come from this Woodbury. So the traffic would be coming, if it came from Maine, we want to be concerned. Public Service is telling us it's all coming from northern New Hampshire down this Spalding. We've asked them to look at rail service, and we haven't looked at the results of that. They've got another study.
Well, what I've read in the paper is that they are not in favor of doing either of those two things.
It hasn't come to our committee yet.
Okay.
You're absolutely right. They came before the neighborhood committee, and most of the neighborhood committee wanted to see it, rail. But they said it was going to cost about $10 million. So I'm just afraid, because they did present a plan to us that they'll come off 95 and scoot up Woodbury Avenue, and that whole neighborhood along there are upset. So we've got to keep a close eye on this one. All ready for the vote?
Your Honor, we're just approving the action sheet and the minutes for the traffic and safety, right?
Yes. Yes.
For parking, okay, thank you.
That's right. All set? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
The next item under my name is the Parking Committee, and I move that we accept the action sheet and minutes of the February 19th, 2004 Parking Committee.
Second?
Councilor Whitehouse?
Yes, to the chairman of the Parking Committee, I certainly have supported downtown residency parking, and I see in the minutes it's at least being discussed, and I think this is important, and I hope it's discussed again as you continue with your meetings on residency parking downtown.
Any other discussion before the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? And we are down to adjournment. Who would like to make the motion?
Move to adjourn.
Oh, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
We have one more item under my name.
Oh, I'm very sorry, because that's a very important.
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
And I apologize. At this time, I alerted the council at the last meeting that I would be making this motion, and the Seacoast Shipyard Association, I'm making a motion to authorize $10,000 from contingency to use as contribution to the Seacoast Shipyard Association in their fight to keep the shipyard open.
Second.
Discussion. Councilor Grasso?
Yes, contingency.
This year. This year.
Any other discussion? Are you all ready for the vote? You all better say yes. We got to keep that Navy out. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Madam Mayor, my understanding is that we will be inviting Captain McDonough for a presentation at the next City Council meeting. It's a $10,000 check.
That's right, and I will have a...
Challenging our fellow neighbors to the north and south that also have shipyard employees in their communities to match our contribution.
And the governor.
Madam Mayor?
Just 1 minute, Laura. Cut me off. I'm going to have a proclamation, too.
Perfect.
With the check.
I'd just like the council to know that the 7 reps from the city of Portsmouth has asked the governor and council to give $50,000 to this.
Are we all ready for the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Move to adjourn.
Do I get a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
And then
You look like you're...